Let me tell you about this woman who told the world that she had cancer. She told her church, she told her family, and even complete strangers online that she told them she was dying. For almost a decade, she was praised as a miracle because she just kept beating cancer. She showered with love. She got gifts from celebrities. This poor lady, she lost her hair. She was in and out of the hospital. And one time in front of hundreds of people at her church, she even fainted and urinated on herself. How awful. How awfully dedicated she was to this bit, because urinating on yourself in front of a crowd of people. Bravo, Amanda, bravo. Amanda Riley, a real method actor. Welcome to That's My Opinion, where we break down the biggest stories, uncover hidden truths, and explore why they matter. I'm Bacon Bears, and today we are diving into the wild case of Amanda Riley, or as the internet knows her, Scamanda. As always, this video is for conversational purposes only. Do your own research, form your own opinions, because this one's mine, and let's get into it. Before all the drama, Amanda looked like she had made it. She was young, vibrant, married to a man named Corey, and stepping into life as a new wife and stepmom. On the outside, they looked like a picture-perfect blended family, the kind that you'd see smiling on a church flyer. Friends described Amanda as magnetic. She was the kind of person that you just wanted to be around. Upbeat, glass half full kind of gal, always ready with a smile. She's married to Corey in a small ceremony, and not long after, she's pregnant. And the whole thing seemed like a fairy tale, the happily ever after that she had always wanted. Their spiritual home was a megachurch in San Jose, California. And if you've never been to one, think less quiet pews and hymns that we Catholic kids know all about, and more stadium lights and massive crowds, full concert production, okay? It's the kind of environment where a story can spread fast, and Amanda thrived in it like a petri dish. She jumped into church groups, posted on church's social media, and quickly became known and loved in the community. And by 2012, Amanda had the husband, the baby, the church family, and the spotlight. And everything about her life looked absolutely perfect. And then, just when it seemed like nothing could go wrong, Amanda would share the news that would change everything. And it would turn her into something bigger than a wife, bigger than a mom, or bigger than a church member. She was about to become a miracle. In 2012, Amanda's story took a dramatic turn. She shared with her church and her friends that she had been diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. According to the Mayo Clinic, Hodgkin's lymphoma is a type of cancer that starts in the lymphatic system. That's a part of your body that helps fight off germs and diseases. And it happens when some of the normal cells in that system change and start growing out of control. The lymphatic system runs all throughout your body in these little nodes, kind of like little checkpoints in your neck, your underarms, your chest, and your stomach. So if you ever notice lumps in those areas, please call your doctor. But the good news is that out of all of the cancers that exist, Hodgkin's lymphoma is one that doctors are very good at treating. With today's medicine, most people who get it are able to go into remission, but I digress. Imagine the shock. Here is a young mom with a newborn baby and a new marriage suddenly facing a life-threatening illness. Her community is completely devastated for her, as anybody would be, but Amanda didn't shrink away from it. No, instead, she stepped forward. She started a blog to share her journey. It was called My Story, Our Journey, because you're a part of this. We're in this together. Through her post, she poured out her thoughts, her struggles, her faith. She wrote about her treatments, her prayers, her gratitude, and the people rallying behind her. And people responded. They read and loved every word. They left comments, they shared her posts, and her story wasn't just resonating inside the walls of the church anymore. It was spreading online. Amanda became a miracle mom who refused to let cancer steal her joy. Her blog gave her followers exactly what they wanted: someone to root for, someone to cry with, and someone to believe in. Her church started bringing her on stage to share her journey with thousands of people. She tied her fight to her faith, pointing to God as her strength. And for a lot of people, it worked. They believed that she was chosen. She was protected, and maybe even destined to beat the odds. And donations just started coming in. prayers multiplied. Even celebrities took notice. Amanda had gone from a young mom in San Jose to a woman who looked like she was defying death itself. And just when you start to think, how many miracles could touch this family? Amanda Riley gets pregnant with her second child while having an IUD in place, while undergoing treatments for cancer. And she was going to pause the treatments for the baby, but why do you have to do that when the pregnancy was actually reversing the cancer? Hallelujah! However, according to the American Cancer Society, it says that cancer can be treated during pregnancy, but treatment and timing change with the pregnancy. Chemo is generally avoided in the first trimester. Some regimens can be used in the second and third, and radiation near the fetus is not used. There is no evidence, no scientific evidence that pregnancy reverses cancer. At best, care is carefully adjusted, and outcomes at the same stage are about the same as non-pregnant patients when treatment is planned correctly. Amanda really should have done her research. I mean, she did on some things, but not others. It's very confusing. Amanda's blog and testimony weren't just winning her sympathy. They were winning her money. She became the kind of cancer celebrity most people wouldn't even think to question. There were community fundraisers, businesses pitching in, and even celebrities lending their support. At one point, she was gifted a signed guitar from LeAnn Rimes. That's the level she was working this scam. Free trips, event tickets, dinners, childcare, and endless gift cards. Her church took it even further. Amanda and her husband Corey were paraded up on the stage in front of thousands of people at the family community church, and what followed was something called a love offering, where the congregation literally walked up and threw money at them. Imagine, you're standing on stage, just watching cash raining down on you, knowing full well it's all based on a lie. In a church, you in danger, girl. I claim no negative energy from this activity. Nope. Could never be me. Nope. Restaurants even joined in. Chili's hosted a fundraiser where a percentage of sales went straight to Amanda's cancer fight. Families who had very little themselves donated checks in the thousands. Kids donated their allowance money, and Amanda made sure to shout people out on her blog. The bigger the donation, the bigger the praise. It was all a part of the manipulation, rewarding generosity with public validation so that donations kept flowing. By now, Amanda wasn't just someone in need. She was being framed as a living miracle. People praised her strength, her resilience, and if anyone ever doubted it, well, who questions the woman who looks you in the eyes and says, "I'm dying"? On the surface, Amanda's story was airtight, but behind the scenes, people close to her were like, something's not right. Her hair looked too perfect. Her skin looked too vibrant. Her energy too high. Real chemo patients are in bed for days, pale, exhausted. But Amanda? No, can't be stopped. She's out swimming after allegedly having fluid drained from her brain. She even showed up at her friend's pool with like a little tiny Band-Aid behind her ear. And she had just had a very serious procedure and then just cannonballed right into the deep end. She also claimed that she was part of a clinical trial for a drug called Keytruda and that she could inject it at home chemo. Now, I did a little research, and here's the deal about cancer treatments at home. Sometimes if you're on IV or injectable meds, a trained nurse can come to your house and give you them, but that's very controlled and supervised. However, it's not always possible or even safe to get cancer treatments at home. In many cases, insurance won't even cover it, or the drugs simply can't be given outside of a hospital or clinic. If someone really can't make it to appointments, then the cancer team can sometimes work out like telehealth options or limited home care. In certain circumstances, sometimes a loved one can play a caregiver, but you don't just grab chemo and a syringe and head home and like DIY treatment yourself. It does not work like that. And according to the documentary Scamanda, when you're in a clinical trial, all of that has to be done by professionals because it's literally a trial. They have to see if it's going to work or not. They have to know all the variables. So when investigative producer Nancy Muscatello, and perhaps my hero, this woman is, I want to be her when I grow up, okay? So great. But when she fact-checked the facility that Amanda Riley said that she was going to for these trials, they flat out denied any such trial existed, let alone one that you could administer in your living room at home. And the more I looked into this story and watched the documentary and listened to the podcast, did Amanda not think that anyone could find this information? Now, I understand HIPAA, and maybe she thought that because no one could get her records, therefore no one could prove it. But did you not think that someone could call and ask these types of questions? Yeah. By 2015, Amanda's friend Lisa Berry couldn't keep quiet anymore. And Lisa, we stan. Lisa had been one of Amanda's closest friends, practically a mother figure. But even she knew that something wasn't right. That summer, she sent an anonymous tip to Nancy. And once Nancy got involved, Amanda's blog started to unravel because Nancy went deep like a dog with a bone. She didn't just skim Amanda's post. No. She fact-checked every single word, every doctor's visit. She even noticed that in all the hospital photos, the meds were just always slightly turned just so you couldn't see the label. Genius. What an eye for detail. Nancy checked trial registry, she called hospitals, she cross-referenced claims, and what she found was a whole lot of nothing. No records, no treatments, no Amanda. And I have to say, I'd love to talk to Nancy because that kind of research has to be such a total mind warp. Imagine trying to prove that someone who's adored in their church, cherished by their friends, and worshipped online is faking cancer. Also, imagine trying to prove that, and then what if you got it wrong? Oh my God. That would have to make you feel so bad. So bad. San Jose Police Detective Jose Martinez eventually gets involved. But here's the thing, proving someone doesn't have cancer is actually harder than proving that they do. HIPAA locks medical records down tight, which is great. We don't want those just floating out everywhere, okay? However, this is not so great when you're trying to expose someone for fraud. You can't just call up a hospital and be like, hey,
hi, does this woman really have cancer?
But this is why he's the detective and I'm not. Martinez found a workaround. Instead of asking for Amanda's records, he simply asked the hospitals for a yes or no. Has Amanda Riley ever been a patient here? If they said no, they weren't violating any privacy. And sure enough, hospital after hospital said the same thing. Amanda Riley was never their patient. Crafty, sir. Very crafty. Meanwhile, Amanda's behavior only gets more bizarre. Instead of lying low, when she knows that these people are looking into her, she doubles down. She kept blogging, kept posting, kept playing the part. She even got aggressive. At one point, Amanda even tried to flip the script on Nancy Muscatello, and instead of answering questions, she filed for a restraining order. She claimed that Nancy was harassing her and calling her workplace nonstop. Nancy comes home one day and she finds this paperwork sitting in her mailbox, and yes, they actually go to court over it. In that hearing, Corey, her husband, which I have so many questions about, testifies under oath that he had been with Amanda at all of her doctor's appointments, right by her side. He also stated that Nancy was calling his workplace over and over again. Amanda called Nancy a liar, which is pretty bold considering Amanda was the one blogging fake cancer. But I mean, okay, pop off, queen. But then this raises the question, how much does Corey actually know? Because I sat around with some friends telling the story, and before I even got into the details, I asked them, how long do you think your spouse could fake cancer before you'd figure it out? And do you know what everyone said? A day. Maybe less. And let me know how long you think it would take you to figure something like this out about you and your spouse and why in the comments. But I need to know. But we're lucky enough to have some really supportive couples in our circle, and they all said the same thing. They'd move schedules around. They'd go to every doctor's appointment. They'd ask questions. They'd sit in on every scan and handle all the medical bills together because that's what you'd expect from your partner, right? I have to tell you, I don't even think I could get away with it for more than a day with my friends because my friends would be like, I'm taking you to the doctor. I'm going to ask questions. Amanda often called Corey her rock, her hero, the perfect supportive husband and father. But the wool was supposedly pulled completely over his eyes for years. Because when I told my husband this story, his first reaction was, where are all the bills? Where are the explanation of benefits, insurance statements, hospital bills? All that stuff piles up. So did she just hide every one of them and he just like never knew a thing? By now, the whispers had turned into real investigations. Detective Martinez had done what he could locally, but proving Amanda didn't have cancer required more muscle. Enter the IRS Criminal Investigation Team, okay? And specifically, Special Agent Arlette Lee. What a queen. And let me tell you, if there's one agency in America that you do not want on your tail, it's the IRS, girl. Woo! Now, I think it's important to pause here and tell you this. Both Nancy Muscatello and Special Agent Arlette Lee had watched cancer destroy their own families. They knew what it looked like. They knew the toll that it takes. And when they had to watch Amanda Riley, someone preying on that exact pain, fake it for sympathy, for money, can you even imagine how infuriating that had to be? Agent Lee subpoenaed every single hospital and clinic that Amanda ever mentioned on her blog. And when the records came back, the answer was the same every single time. Amanda Riley was never a cancer patient. Not for chemo, not for radiation, not for clinical trials, nothing. Over the years, the IRS collected tens of thousands of pages of medical records, and every page told the same story. Amanda made it all up. For years, Amanda had fooled her church, her friends, her family, and even her husband? ? But no matter how many selfies she posted, no matter how many Band-Aids she slapped on after a trip to the ER, the records didn't lie. And once the IRS had proof, ooh, girl, it was only a matter of time before the Department of Justice filed charges. And the official charges? Ooh, wire fraud. Because she used the internet, her blog, and electronic donations to run the scam. And it sounds almost simple, but it carries a serious weight. Maximum penalty, 20 years in federal prison, baby. Investigators had hospital records, IRS subpoenas, and a mountain of evidence that pointed to one thing. This bitch never had cancer. And when that much evidence stacks up, the next step is inevitable. A raid. So picture this, a quiet day in the suburbs, and then suddenly, federal law agents swarming the Riley home, banging on the door, kids inside, and for most of us, I don't know, I'd panic. I would absolutely panic. But Amanda, calm, cool, collected. Detective Jose Martinez even speculated later that she might have been on something to take the edge off, because who sits through a raid without breaking a sweat? And think about the kids. Agents in tactical gear storming your house, searching everything, bagging evidence. That has to be terrifying. And meanwhile, Corey is silent. He wouldn't talk to the press. He wouldn't speak up publicly, which on one hand, fine, protect your family's privacy. But on the other hand, if that was my house and I was being raided because my spouse was lying about cancer, I would be throwing a fit. A fit. Why are you here? What is happening? Honey, would you like to explain? But Corey, he says nothing. And here's the kicker. The same day her home was raided, you know what? Amanda goes right back online and blogged about her cancer. No shame, no pause, just business as usual, which, you know what? I mean, she's got to make that money somehow, you know? Now, you would think that after a federal raid on your home, most people would, I don't know, lie low, keep their head down. But Amanda Riley, no ma'am. No ma'am. Instead, she packed up and moved her family about 40 minutes away and landed a new job at a private Christian school. Not just any job. She worked her way up somehow to be a principal. That's right. After being raided by the IRS, Amanda was now running a school. She had parents trusting her, kids looking up to her, a community seeing her as a leader, and she kept right on with the scam. At this very school, there was another teacher named Miss Cindy who was actually battling cancer. Amanda claimed she was in remission at the time, but when Miss Cindy's cancer came back, Amanda suddenly announced that, hers came back too. Wouldn't you know it? Wouldn't you know it? So the school organized a fundraiser for both of them because they're just being, good people. So you have parents, students, fellow teachers pouring their hearts and their wallets out for two women that they thought were fighting for their lives. Except only one of them actually was. Miss Cindy was truly sick, and Amanda was lying through her teeth, standing shoulder to shoulder with a real cancer patient and collecting sympathy, collecting donations. And in the end, Miss Cindy sadly passed away. Amanda, meanwhile, walked away with cash and gifts that could have and should have gone to Cindy and her family. In my opinion, Amanda has zero conscience. I would never wish cancer on my worst enemy. But if somebody asks for it this much, let them have it. Let them experience it then. Now, just when you think it couldn't get worse, because it always does, don't worry. It gets worse. While Amanda was busy faking cancer, she and Corey, because apparently she didn't have enough to do, were also knee-deep in a custody battle. Corey has a daughter named Jessa from his marriage to his ex-wife, Alita. And while Amanda was actively lying to her community, she's also actively trying to take someone else's child. I mean, the multitasking. Now, from the outside, Amanda played the role of the perfect, what she liked to call bonus mom. She called Jessa her bonus daughter, signed school papers as mom, and pushed Alita completely out of the picture. At one point, Alita wasn't even listed as an emergency contact at her own kid's school. Imagine that. You're the biological mother, but your ex's new wife, who you originally hired to teach your sick daughter cheer and dance lessons, has now inserted herself so deeply into your child's life that you have been erased. Oh, what was that? We missed a few things? Well, let me fill you in. Amanda did not just magically appear as Corey's wife and Jessa's stepmom. No. She was first introduced into this family through Alita, who at the time was married to Corey. Amanda was hired to teach cheer and dance to Alita's older daughter, Jamie, who, by the way, was actively battling leukemia. Now, to Jamie, Amanda wasn't just a coach. She became a big sister. She was in the house constantly, helping with routines, eating dinner with the family, going on outings. She was just like another family member. But slowly, Alita's marriage to Corey started to fall apart. I wonder why. Then they separated, and then they divorced. And suddenly, Amanda, the cheer coach turned family friend, was spending her time at Corey's house. So Amanda, you go into a woman's home, you help her sick daughter who's battling leukemia, and then you move in on her husband, allegedly for all entertainment purposes only, but that's my opinion, and I think it's probably the opinion of everyone else. I'm just saying it to protect myself in this video. And if that wasn't enough, you also try to take her child and fake cancer on top of it. What? Now, no one actually knows the moment that Corey and Amanda's relationship started, but I have some thoughts. Amanda actively tried to erase Alita from every corner of Jessa's life. Eventually, Amanda and Corey fought for full custody of Jessa, and they won. God, the story pisses me off so bad. They painted Alita as unstable, unfit, abusive, and the court believed them. For Alita, this was devastating. She loses her daughter and she has to pay child support, but the tide would eventually turn. See, there was this cruise, Amanda's 30th birthday or something like that, but something happened on that trip. And when the dust settled, Jessa, just like that, is immediately back in Alita's custody. I want to know what went down. But there are court documents to confirm that Corey signed off on the custody change. So whatever it was serious enough that the courts handed Jessa back to her mother. However, through all of this, because these little girls are smart, Jessa was the one to first grow suspicious of Amanda. She saw lies up close, saw that things didn't add up, and when Nancy and Alita finally connected, Jessa's perspective helped confirm what Amanda had been hiding all along. Amanda and Corey... I can't with these two. Okay, get it together, Bacon. Get it together. Amanda and Corey would then file for bankruptcy in 2014. And guess what they blamed it on? Amanda's cancer. Like, did you not think anyone would figure it out? Medical debt that didn't exist. Don't you guys have to prove when you file for bankruptcy? I don't know how bankruptcy works, but don't you have to prove why you're filing for bankruptcy? Amanda had hundreds of people donating to her. Churches held fundraisers, restaurants gave percentages of their profits, kids handed over their piggy banks, people mailed checks in the thousands. And she posted all of this on her blog. She posted how this gift or that fundraiser covered her treatment. So how do you claim bankruptcy for medical debt when you were allegedly having it all covered? Or how do you file for bankruptcy for medical debt when you don't actually have it? What? And then you write it on the internet. The gall, girl. The IRS eventually tracked the paper trail. $106,272.43 to be exact in verifiable, keyword verifiable fraud, just from the donations that could be counted. And that's not even touching the cash stuffed into love offerings at the church or the meals or the trips or the gifts or the childcare. However, even after all of that, Amanda Riley was federally charged with fraud. Wire fraud. You see, at first, Amanda pleaded not guilty because of course she did. But by October of 2021, she changed her plea to guilty. In doing so, she admitted that from 2012 to 2019, she lied about having Hodgkin's lymphoma. She shaved her head, she falsified records, she blogged about fake treatments, and took over $100,000 in verifiable donations. I'm curious to know what the actual number is, but this is only what they could prove. May of 2022, sentencing day in San Jose federal courtroom. Amanda walks in with Corey, her parents, and a room filled with victims. Victims who gave their time, they gave their money, and their hearts to someone that they thought was dying. Someone who had lost loved ones to real cancer. Some were real cancer survivors themselves. And now they were standing in front of the woman who used their compassion for her own gain. Victims read statements. Amanda read one too. She apologized, I guess. Because when you lie this much, how do we know that you're actually being genuine? I think the tears were because she got caught, honestly. Because if she did feel bad, maybe the raid would stop her, but it didn't. I don't know, maybe standing next to somebody who actually had cancer, who survived, and then you're like, me too, I don't. But then comes this judge. Woo! And he didn't mince words. He called Amanda a significant risk, someone likely to reoffend if given the chance. He sentenced her to 60 months in federal prison, 5 years, and ordered her to pay $106,272.43 in restitution to her victims. I often wonder about what Amanda's parents knew, because people claimed that her mom, Peggy, would sometimes post on Amanda's blog when Amanda was too sick to type. And when people started to ask questions, Peggy would back up her story. She'd say, I was at these appointments with Amanda. She was really fighting cancer. Was she? Was she, Peggy? And it makes you wonder, was Peggy duped like everyone else, or was she helping keeping the con alive? Because at the end of the day, this scam lasted almost a decade. And to keep a lie running that long, someone else either had to know or knew at the very least and chose not to look too closely. Let's talk about Corey Riley. For years, Amanda painted Corey as her rock, the perfect supportive husband, the man who stood by her side through endless rounds of fake chemo, who testified in court to back her up, who let her call his ex-wife crazy while she stole custody of his daughter. After Amanda was indicted, Corey being the super husband that he was, filed for divorce. Convenient timing. I guess the raid and finding out that she was actually a liar wasn't enough for you, huh? Was it, Corey? And Amanda tried to twist this whole story again, because that's what they do, Sherry Papini of it all. She claimed that much of the money that she raised, the donations, the fundraisers, the checks written by well-meaning strangers, had actually gone to help Corey. I use that for Corey. She said that she used this money to cover his child support payments to Alita and even his legal fees from the custody battle. And it makes you wonder, how much did Corey know? In the end, Amanda lost her husband, she lost custody of Jessa, lost her freedom, and lost the life she spent years pretending to have. She pulled down her family, her church, her community, and her victims with her. Amanda Riley is serving a 5-year federal sentence handed down in May of 2022. She started her time at the Federal Medical Center Carswell in Texas and is now recorded as being in a residential re-entry facility in Long Beach, California. According to federal prison records, her scheduled release date is December 4th of 2025. But even behind bars, Amanda has kept up a familiar pattern, reporting ongoing health problems. In fact, during her first year and a half locked up, she was taken to outside hospitals more than 20 times for issues ranging from chest pains to heart palpitations. Her attorneys even petitioned the court to shorten her sentence based on those medical claims, but the judge denied it. I wonder why. She also stayed in touch with journalist Charlie Webster, the host of Scamanda. And in those conversations, Amanda expressed remorse and regret for what she did. Though, whether that regret is genuine or just another layer of performance is something that the world may never know. Now, Amanda Riley may be locked up, but the story didn't end when the cell door closed. In fact, her scam has become even more infamous since she went to prison. Now, I am not a doctor, but Dr. Judy Ho is. She's a licensed clinical and forensic neuropsychologist, and she weighed in on Amanda Riley's case, and Dr. Ho explained that what Amanda was doing fits the profile for something called fictitious disorder, also known as Munchausen syndrome. It's when someone lies about having an illness because they crave the attention, the sympathy, and the special treatment that comes with being sick. It's not the same as wanting prescription drugs or money at first. It's about being the center of the story. And Amanda got to be the hero of her own story. She was constantly lifted up, showered with praise, given gifts, and validated online. And when that started to die down, surprise, her cancer would come back and the spotlight was on her again. But I need to know what you think. Do you think that you would be able to see through Amanda Riley's act, or do you think you would have been just as fooled as her church and her friends and her family? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you made it this far, don't forget to hit subscribe because we've got plenty more deep dives coming your way. I'm Bacon Bears, and that's my opinion.